Welcome everybody on a session about new data domain DD6400. A couple of days ago, a customer called me and told me, Daniel, I want to buy a data domain. I was a little bit surprised. Usually providers, vendors call a customer to offer. And this time, this was a customer that called me and wanted to have a DD to purchase. I was curious and I asked, okay, why? He told me I was encrypted. I told him we need to protect before, not after. He said, yes, I understand, but anyhow, I would like to have a data domain. So data domain is secure system, huge secure system. A new data domain model not only provides security, but also performance, but also scalability, a lot of fantastic features. And I would like to discuss with you this new model, especially in our times where security is the number one. My name is Daniel Olkowski and I deal with backup recovery solutions in Dell Technologies. So agenda, we will first a little bit introduce data domain. We talk about what is the advantage of DD6400, performance, security, scaling, decreasing cost. We also provide technical details and materials. So guys, when we have a backup environment, we want to protect it, of course. So we need backup software and we need backup media. In case of backup media, we have a lot of backup media. We can have a tape, we can have a disk system, we can have a de-duplicator like a data domain. The question is why we should choose a data domain. We will discuss this today. DD6400, which is our hero today, of course, is part of a broader portfolio of models that are scaling this way, like starting from DD6300s, DD6400s, our today hero, DD6900s, DD9400s, and DD9900s. We have also data domain virtual edition that can work on any storage. So let's start from the performance that provides DD6400. Every data domain provides a huge performance. Why? Because it doesn't matter if we have 10 terabytes environment or we have 100 terabytes environment. Data domain, if backups our environment, it writes on a disk just 1%. So usually in a backup, the slowest element is backup media. And data domain says to us, guys, you will have a huge performance. Why? Because I will not be writing the data to media. I will be just writing, minimal, marginal, 1%. So your speed will be fast. Great. How does it look? One of customers got from SQL environment 14 terabytes per hour from single system. One of my customer, Linux, 14 terabytes Oracle, backup speed 5 terabytes per hour as a full database. As we see, it is 1.5 gigabytes per second, and this was limited. This was just limited by the production storage. If the production storage would be faster, then of course the speed would be even faster. Yeah, so this is the speed, and the public case can be shown, can be visible here. But it's even something more important. Let's imagine that I have the environment like here. So I don't want to backup first this virtual machine, second this one, and so on. I would like to backup everything at the same time. And there is no problem. Data domain DD6400 tells me you can have 100 virtual machines. You can have 20 databases. You can backup everything in a parallel because you can perform 270 backups in parallel at the same time. So this is, like we're on the concert. There are 10,000 people on the concert, and if there is one toilet, there will be a queue. If there will be 270 toilets, we will have no queue. But again, backup environment is one of the most fantastic to make things parallel at the same time. And data domain says, yes, no worry, backup everything at the same time, you'll have a huge speed. But the new data domain provides also additional advantages. So let's imagine that we have 8 disks. This is disk 1, this is disk 8, on which we are just writing the data. So normally we have write 6. Yeah, and write 6 needs 2 disks for parity, 1 for the spare. So out of 8 disks, only 5 disks really working. Writing and reading is just from this pool normally. DD6400 says, no, I want to have a huge speed. So I want that all 8 disks will be at least reading the data, will be taking also part in the backup. Why? Because he says, okay, for this chunk of data, those 2 disks will be parity, it will be spare. For those 2 disks, for this chunk of data, those 2 disks will be parity, this will be spare, and so on and so on. So finally, all the disks will have it both data, parity, spare, and all the data, all the disk will be performing backup restore. So fantastically, this improves our backup. You can say, but Daniel, you told me that media does not matter. Just a second ago, you told me that media does not matter because we're just writing 1% of the data during a backup. That's true. That's true. Even if this would be just a backup, there would be nothing to fight. We could have just maybe even 1 disk to which we'll be writing, and then the speed will be huge fast for a backup. But we need also to read, to restore. And in restore, we need to read really, let's say, because of the compression, other files, between 30% to 100% of the data depends. So the number of the disk from which we are reading is really important. And DD6400 says, I will be reading from all the resources that you have. I will be giving you the maximum speed that you can achieve. This is what I will give you. Of course, there are also other mechanisms. Like data domain says, I never have fragmented data, so I will be reading continuously, and so on and so on. So logically, by hardware, by everything, we will get maximum restore speed. Additionally, we know that data domain is huge fast because it has best de-duplication on the market. It's variable long length de-duplication 4K, 12K. And this is really fantastic. I can give you the example. Let's imagine we have 3 virtual machines. And every virtual machine is built from blue, green, red blocks. So if this block has been written, this block has been written, and this block has been written, so those blocks will never be written because they are already existing on data domain. If the second virtual machine is also built from red, blue, green, then those blocks, they will also not be written. We will have huge fast backup because 0% of the data would be written, and so on. But finally, maybe a new block occurs. Okay, this is a new block, yellow one. Oh, we don't have it. We need a yellow block. But data domain says to us, hey, I will compress this block. Let's imagine that it should be 7K block because it's between 4K and 12K variable. Let's say it should be 7K. No, I will not try you 7K because I want to save your space and so on and so on. I want it will be fast. So I will compress it. It will be 3K. In DD6300, this compression is performed by main processor of data domain. So DD6300 is the previous model. It was made by main processor. In DD6400, the processor does not do the compression. There is a compression card. Yeah, this is a compression card that performs the compression itself. So the processor is free for replication, cleaning, and so on and so on. A lot of stuff that he has to do, cloud tier and so on, he's free for those tasks. And the compression card makes only of course, new blocks, making them smaller. So first, the backup is faster, usually twice times faster. Restore should be also much faster because of the compression card, it's much faster. But also the whole data domain is much faster because the processor now is not busy with, compressing the new chunks. It's just done by the separate compression card. Okay, so all new models, DD6400, DD9600, DD9400s, DD9900s, all of them, they have the compression card. We don't have them on the DD3300s and DDVE. They don't have it, the compression card. Yeah? But those ones, they are much faster. But you can say, okay, that's fine. You have a fast backup, fast restore. Can the restore be immediate? So data domain offers for any backup software instant access. We can say, hey, I have my 10 terabytes, 100 terabytes environment that I have protected to you, DD6400. But I have one virtual machine. This virtual machine is 1 terabyte. I have no time to restore it. So I will start this virtual machine on you, DD6400. You will be my primary storage, like Power Max, Free Power, whatever. You will be my primary storage, normal storage, because I have no time to restore this data. You must behave like normal online storage. Okay, we can say that's good. But can you imagine that we can say to tape, hey, tape, I have no time to restore. Can I start the virtual machine or database just for you? Maybe. This is like my kid. I can ask my kid, please empty the trash bin. Silence. The same is here. We can ask tape, yeah, I want to start something from you, but nothing will happen. Nothing will happen, absolutely, yeah. But here, data domain says, I have also SSD disks. So if your production will fail, I will be production, this one virtual machine, 4 virtual machine, 10 virtual machines. You can start from here, and this will have SSD speeds. We will have, for example, 30,000 IOPS, 20,000, 25,000 IOPS, and so on. So we have a normal speed. This is, guys, revolution. Normally, we get used to the fact that if there is a backup and something fails, then okay, we need to go home. Maybe next time they will repair something. No. The backup says, if production fails, me as a backup, I'm becoming your production. I have enough power to replace your production and serve with a good speed. This is absolutely real. I have a customer who was running 75 virtual machines over 12 hours because his primary storage failed due to upgrade of the firmware. Security. We know that data domain has secure architecture. What does it mean? We said that we have 10 terabytes, 100 terabytes environment. That's fine. We perform it backup. It just writes few data, just 1% to make the backup huge fast, but he does not believe those disks. Maybe this bit that should be 0 has been, there is an error and this bit is 1, and maybe all my backups are, after writing how the data domain can know it. So all the data of my 10 terabytes, 100 terabytes environment that I perform a backup with any backup software, Avamar, Veeam, PowerProtect Data Manager, Commvault, Networker, NetBackup, with whatever backup software I use, all the data that are sent to data domain, written to the disk, they are read by data domain, and data domain checks if all the bits, they are correct. If those data are exactly the same with the data that he got from the production, from Avamar, Veeam, and so on and so on. He's checking, and he says to us, I will recover you for sure the same data that you have sent me. I guarantee this by data domain invulnerability architecture. I'm checking everything. I don't trust anyone, but you have guaranteed that all the data will be checked and all the data will be correct. Further, we have just mentioned about this new architecture that parity is spread across all the disks. Because of this new architecture of the storage pool, the data domain keeps much more data than normally on the parity, and it's much more effective than parity plus, for example, spare drive, which is normally. If we have regular RAID 6 on these 8 drives, then we can survive maximum 3 disk failures. Those 2 as a parity, and maybe if the rebuilding is finished, also the spare one. Yeah? This architecture, this storage pool architecture, allows him to even survive more drive failures. More drives can be failed, but we don't lose any data. We don't lose absolutely any data. Yeah. So it's much better than RAID 6 plus parity. Another thing, we have here separated space for our data. So this is our data. Here we keep our data backups. Okay. But here we keep operating system. Even if someone will destroy you the operating system, or for example, those drives, they are of course RAID 1, yeah, RAID 1. So even if one disk fails, nothing happens. But even if someone destroys you all both two drives, nothing happens. Nothing happens. Why? Because I can install new operating system, connect to data, and it will work like previous. So destroying operating system on a data domain does not have any influence on my data, on my backups, on my possibility to restore. Everything is secure. I can destroy operating system. Here I can even restore more than 3 drives and I still have the data. Look how much it is focused on the security, because backup system does not make sense if it does not guarantee me recovery of the data. Also on the logically, you see, here is logically, this is operating system, this is a data. I can lose this one, I can operating system, I can lose, and no problem. I still have access to the data. Those data are protected by the, as I said, very, flexible storage pool that allows to even more than 3 drives to be destroyed, and then we still have the data. And of course, replication. We know that the whole site can be damaged. So data domain says, I will transfer you 1%. Okay, if here we have 10 terabytes on production or 100 terabytes on the production, data domain says, I can transfer you 1% of the data to another site, but here you can restore 100% of the data. Yesterday, one of my customers called me that they have 29 locations, and they want this 29 location to replicate to a primary site, and they want to build the replication on a data domain because they have currently replication based, disaster recovery based on a data domain, and they told me they have never seen this kind of a solution. Almost no transfer, almost no usage of the networking, constant replication, and they can recover everything in the separate site. And finally, we can have a hacker or ransomware. My 10 terabytes or my 100 terabytes environment can be hacked. But if I have a backup on a data domain says, I can lock your backups on 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. If I lock this backup, no one is able to destroy your backup. Hacker ransomware is not able to destroy this one. Let's look for this. I can show you this online. So this is my data domain, and I connect to this data domain, you see, to disk R, which is on a data domain, and I perform a backup. Now nothing is logged. I just performing a backup manually. Normally this is performed by Avamar, Veeam, Networker, NetBackup, Commvault, whatever, but I'm performing just manually copying data to R drive, which is R drive is on a data domain. And let's say there is a hacker. Yeah. Okay. So hacker wants to remove some data. Yes, he's able to remove the data. He sees the data. No problem. But I say to data domain, hey, data domain, this resource is hugely important for me. So you must set up a lock on this data domain. You must set up a lock on this data domain. Now it is not set up because it's disabled. So please set up a lock. It must be automatic, and I want this lock for 3 months. So every backup that will go to data domain from, I don't know, whatever backup software, Veeam, Commvault, Networker, NetBackup, Data Protector, whatever, it will be locked for 3 months against anyone. Let's check it. I perform second backup. You see, I perform second backup, B2, and this backup is absolutely locked for 3 months. Okay. So there is a ransomware hacker. He tries to destroy something on the production, Solina, drive E. Okay, he's able to do this. Now he goes to the backup. He goes to the backup. He wants to remove this file. And yes, he wants to permanently delete this file. But what data domain says? No! Until 3 months, so until 4th of June, I will not allow anyone to delete this backup or encrypt this backup or replace by something else. No, because if the company will have the virus tomorrow, this copy from today, from 4th of March, from that moment of time, you will be able to recover. Those data will not be touched. If you tomorrow will be attacked, those data have no chance to be destroyed, encrypted, whatever. Yeah, this is security. Yeah, so it's huge, fantastic. And this is the reason why data domain is based for something which is called cyber bunker. We can create lock on a data domain on a separate. We have production here, media, backup software, and so on, but we have a separate data domain, which is cyber bunker. And everything can be destroyed on the production, but cyber bunker will not be destroyed. Additionally, it is not visible to anyone because of this fantastic feature of data domain. We have a question: without retention lock, data is still safe? Did boost ensure security? Question from Grzegorz. So if we don't have a retention lock, yes, the ransomware also will, if we perform a boost backup, ransomware will also not be able to hack data domain because boost require login and password. So ransomware will not be able to attack us. Loose operating system works also on DD6900, DD9400. The question from Thomas. On DD6900, DD9400, this is the same scenario because on those systems, there is just separate head. Yeah, there is a head with operating system and there are separated data. Yeah, so thank you very much, Thomas, for the question. Question from Walter: how can retention lock be implemented with Vim? Yeah, absolutely, Walter, you are right. Currently, the problem is that Vim is not able to force. Yeah, so Vim is not able to force automatically. So if you have a Vim, the problem is that Vim cannot say, hey, I perform a backup of this one to data domain and please lock it. So what we do for a Vim, we perform a cyber bunker. So we can replicate this data domain to another one. And on this one, we can just, on data domain level, we can set up the lock. So absolutely, we can have just cyber bunker. This would be preferable method. If we have a Vim to have separate data domain, those data will be replicated to the bunker data domain. And here we'll be setting up compliance just by data domain mechanism without using the Vim. So absolutely, it is possible. It is also possible to make it on a production. This is also possible. A little bit longer way, but this is also possible. If you want more info, just I will provide my email address and just contact me to provide details. In shortage, we are just able to make a snapshot on this data domain, and this snapshot can be automatically locked. Yes, Lucas' question: can I plug the lock on destination replication only? Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, Lucas, absolutely. You can just on one entry of the replicated data domain. Absolutely, you can do that. Yes, question from Marcin: can we make incremental backups with retention lock? Absolutely, absolutely. This is absolutely invisible to backup software. How many virtual machines can I restart from DD6400 at the same time? So this is a question from Alan. Alan, so the answer is that we provide performance up to 12 virtual machines, but you can start any of them. The issue is that if more there will be, the performance will be a little bit smaller. It is if operating system separated from data drives, where is stored configuration? After OS recovery, what steps are necessary to recover full configuration of data domain? Yeah, you are somehow right, absolutely, but the configuration is stored on a data as well. So this, what I was showing before. Thank you very much, Pavel. Very good question. Very good question. Thank you very much. So when we talk here, this one. This data are self-described. So new operating system can connect to this data and there is information about number of entries, everything. Yeah, so absolutely this data, they are self-describing also regarding the configuration, but thank you very much. A question from Sandra. Thank you very much for your nice word. question for retention log feature. With Networker, it is recommended to use a Networker to set up retention. We have several customers that backup Oracle via Arman. They are using network infrastructure, but we can't set the retention log for the backups. How can we work around in this one? So if you perform a backup via Networker, Networker has two policies, two retentions you can define. One is for a backup, and you can say, okay, the backup should be 5 years. And the second retention is for the log. And you can say that Networker knows that data domain has a log, and you can say, okay, I want to have, for example, 1 month just for the log. So if you go to the policy defining, and you will be defining just the tasks of the Networker. In every task, there are 2 retention. On the Networker level, you can set up just the log, no problem. But for every backup software, also with Networker, you can define the cyber bunker. So if this is Networker, vMode, whatever, we can send data to the bunker, and in the bunker we can set up the log. Thank you very much. What are the possible capacity and scaling? So DD6400 starts from 8 terabytes net capacity to 172 terabytes net capacity. And we can increase the capacity with 4 terabytes increments. Okay, so it's very nice. Look, here we start from 48 terabytes. Here we start from 192 terabytes, and so on and so on. Here we have 4 terabytes, 8 terabytes, 16 terabytes, and 32 terabytes possibilities. So, for example, in DD6400, I can have 8 terabytes as a starting capacity and can increase the capacity with 4 terabytes incrementals. So, for example, I can just buy as small as 8 terabyte DD6400. So I have 8 terabytes. Then I can just buy a new license because I have the whole hardware. So I can increase to 12 terabytes just by applying new license. Then I can also buy a new license. So here is plus 4 terabytes. I can apply plus 8 terabytes because the smallest chunk is 4 terabytes. So I can just buy 2 chunks and I will have 20 terabytes. No problem. Then I can increase to 40 terabytes. And this will require me to add the shelf. Then I can increase, so here is shelf. I can increase capacity to 80 terabytes, still only the software. I can increase to 170 terabytes, and then there will be added additional shelf. So I would say this is capacity on demand. We can start from 8 terabytes. We can finish up on 172 terabytes. Increments, there are 4 terabytes. If there is required a new shelf, it will be provided, no problem. But we just say what net capacity do we require? Do we want 8 terabytes, 172 terabytes, or any chunk between 8 terabytes and 72 terabytes? Okay, and here this is just a summary what we said. We start DD6400 with 8 terabytes via licenses, 4 terabytes increments. We can set up the capacity up to 32 terabytes. Then we can go to 40 terabytes net usable, and we can buy license, and then we will get shelf. Then we can increase with 4 terabytes increments to 104 terabytes. Then we can add a capacity. We can increase the capacity to 112 terabytes usable. We will get another shelf, and then with 4 terabytes, we can increments. We can increase the capacity up to 172 terabytes usable net capacity. Great, great stuff. Great flexibility. Yeah. The question is, how big data domain do I need? So first of all, I want to say the data domain has the best market duplication, and it requires a very small space because the block is 4K, 12K. Okay, so very small variable block. So it really writes almost nothing. Then there is a global deduplication. If we have virtual machine that we perform a backup to data domain and we backup the whole virtual machine, and then we backup from inside, the second backup does not occupy, this is, let's say, almost 0%, because those data there are already here because we have a global deduplication. So huge fast, as we said, we have a source deduplication or virtual event synthetic. So data domain requires 2-3 less space than any other solution on the market because of all these advantages: small block, global deduplication, so on and so on. Here, this example of customer. Customer had 9 terabytes VMware environment. He just had new data domain. He sent this 9 terabytes to data domain, and there was 600 gigabytes, 9 terabytes, 600 gigabytes, almost nothing. So it was first backup. So in the first backup, the reduction was 1 to 15. Many software has problem to overcome 1 to 8 with 30 days, with 30 backups. Here with just one, they had 1 to 15. With 30 backups, usually what we achieve is 1 to 100, up to 1 to 300. Up to 1 to 300, yeah. So it's huge deduplication. So the cost is decreased huge. And also another customer, 300 gigabytes, small customer, SAP on the Oracle. He performed a backup huge fast, 4 minutes. But after 4 backups, the deduplication was 1 to 15, a huge one. Really great device regarding. The question is, how much data domain do I need? Let's say that I have 10 terabytes on the production. How much data domain do I need? For 10 terabytes of production data, for 30 days retention, for 1 month retention, for 10 terabytes of the production, usually I need 8 terabytes. This is a rule of thumb. Of course, it requires much more, judging, investigation, but generally for mixed environments, this is generally the case. So we need a very minimal space. Is there any tool to size data domain? The question from Valentin. Yes, we have a tool to size. Absolutely. There is a sizer which is available for the partner. So this sizing can be done by the partner. Thank you very much, Valentin, for the question. Yeah. So, but we can even further decrease the cost. Why? Because as we said, on a data domain, when we have a deduplication, variable block deduplication, and if we have 3 virtual machines, first virtual machine has blue block, green, red, and other has also the same blocks only. So we will have 3 blocks, just 3 blocks. So just 3 blocks, and so 0 would be the space. Yeah. But when data domain sees a new block, it writes this block to internal disks. Yeah. This yellow is a new one, so he has to run it. But he says, okay, guys, you know that I have best deduplication, 4K, 12K. This block is 7K. Yeah, I will not write you 7K because I want to save your space. I will compress it further to, for example, 3K. And how the compression can be performed. On DD6300, the compression was performed by LZ algorithm. Why? Because it is not the best one, but not that much loading the processor, because in DD6300 the processor is performing the duplication. In DD6300 compression was performed by processor. This is why it was LZ, which is not the best one, but the compression does not load the processor that much. In DD6400 processor does not perform compression at all. There is separate card. Here there is separate card that perform this compression, which is first much faster. Then we can have GZ fast or GZ. So much less space is required. How much less space is required? You see, if you have DD6300, which is occupied 100 terabytes, let's say you have 30-day retention, we have 150 terabytes on a production, we perform those backups, 30 days, 30 backups, and then because of that, DD6300 has occupancy of 100 terabytes. If we perform replica to DD6400, because here there is a processor performing compression of new blocks with LZ, here there is a compression card with GZ fast or GZ, then the space here will be 80 terabytes. On DD6300, it will be 100 terabytes because LZ. On DD6400, it will be 80 terabytes because new blocks, they are much better compressed by GD-fast or GD. And also this one will be much faster because it will be performed by the compression card, not by the processor card. And this is our statistics from the worldwide. So file systems, this is DD6300, let's say 100 terabyte space. So on DD6400, you see file system will be 23% less. So it will be 77 terabytes only occupancy, yeah, because of better compression. Database is about 50% less. So here is 100 terabytes on DD6300. Here there will be just 85 terabytes, yeah, much based on the statistics that we have. This is on the real system. I don't tell you something, from from theoretical. This is just practical, how much it's better. Those compression cards that it has, DD6400s, DD6900s, 9400s, and 9900s. Yeah, so please remember about this one, huge value. And this is one of the customers had a previous model without the compression card. And this was LZ performed by processor. Occupancy was 27 terabytes. He moved to DD6900s with GT-fast performed by the compression card, and the occupancy was dropped to 20 terabytes. Yeah, so DD6400 with the same capacity net is comparable or cheaper than DD6400. Please remember that if we compare DD6300 price, for example, for 1 terabyte, this is a little bit the same, or maybe even DD6400 will be cheaper. Yeah, DD6400 will be even cheaper for the same 1 terabyte. But here we require, for example, 80 terabytes only, but here we require 100 terabytes. This is why this one will be whatever cheaper. Parameters of DD6400s. So as I said, DD6400 is part of the family of data domains, DD3300, 69, 94, 9900s. And of course, we have data domain virtual edition as well. So let's look. So first one, DD6400, the net capacity is from 8 terabytes to 172 terabytes with 4 terabytes increments. Yeah, 4 terabytes increments. Here we have a little bit higher, but increments there are 48 terabytes. Here the increments there are also 48 terabytes net, of course, net usable. 48 terabytes increments. Yeah, this is increments. Yeah, so quite nice, quite well scalable, very flexible. Formally, it uses 8 terabytes drives. Yeah, with very optimal wave. As I said, 4 terabytes net extensions. This is summary. One of the most important things, number of parallel backups that we can perform. As I said, it's huge important. It's huge, not only elastic, but it also gives us the speed. Almost 300 backups, 400 backups, 800, almost 2000 backups at the same time. Incredibly fantastic feature of data domain. We talk about DD6400, but it really gives us, possibility to back up everything at the same time. Fantastic thing. And the height, DD6400s, the height is 2U. Those models, they have also the height 2U. DD1900, this is the only one that has height 2U. The shelf for him, the shelf is 3U. This is up to, let's say, 100 terabytes. If you want to have 180 terabytes, we need another 3U shelf. And the cards, yeah. Every model, DD6400s and all the other models, they have built-in, we can choose built-in Ethernet card, either fiber or optical Ethernet card, either fiber or copper Ethernet card, but we can add also free Ethernet cards. Each of them can be copper 10 gigabits, optical 10 gigabits, or 25 gigabits. Optical, this one is 2 ports, this is 4 ports, and this is also 4 ports. Yeah, we can also add, of course, fiber channel. Yeah, so we can add 3 Ethernet cards apart from the built-in, and we can add 1 fiber channel card. This is what is possible. So additional materials I will, provide to all of us this presentation. Absolutely, for all the people that have been, I provide the presentation with also additional link. There is also video about new data domains, 6900s, 9400s, 9900s. There is also a couple of other videos, so you will have these materials. Please consider the DD6400 because of security, because of performance, flexibility, cost-effective, elastic, whatever. But first, security and performance. And look, this is a device that has almost 80% market share. Data domain has 80% market share. Why? Security and performance. Unbeatable. No chance to come too close. Test it. Don't believe me. Test it. I would like to thank you for the time. Enjoy the weekend. Keep well. All the best. See you hopefully again on the next meeting. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for the discussion.